Well, resuming the hearing, the floor will be given to the public prosecutor.
I'm going to read one more name as well, which was missing here.
Doctor,
May I speak?
proceed, doctor.
I'm going to read one more name to see if you know them, if they were from your time, which was missing from the list here. Marcela Antunes Fortuna, who used the pseudonym Aline Yuri or Ana Caranya, a lawyer. Did you happen to know her?
No, I don't remember.
Do you have no more questions, ma'am?
No. Doctors, does anyone have a question? Does nobody have a question? Oh, there. Anyone who has a question, please stand up and ask it into the microphone.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Lucia.
You made a series of explanations here, but to me it wasn't very clear. When you created this group of legal professionals to perform a particular task, was this job a legal one that you wanted because the state was lacking it? In this regard, the prisoners were being harmed. They were being wronged, as you said here. And the deadline to receive the benefit would pass and they wouldn't get it. Is that right? They wouldn't get the benefit, the semi-open regime. Is that what you mean? Parole?
Has your question ended? Yes.
Just to complete then. And this group of lawyers was created to address this failure of the state. Is that correct?
Yes, that is exactly right. What you are mentioning actually took place prior to the year 2006. With some private lawyers being specifically brought in to compensate for this significant deficiency on the part of the state. Starting in 2006, when the attacks occurred, when the faction carried out attacks in São Paulo, then things took on a different scale. It was at that time that it was created. Before that, it didn't exist. At that time, there was a system with lawyers to make up for this deficiency of the state, yes, before 2006. From 2006 and continuing onwards, that was also done, but there were also other significant interests. And there were other defenses related to everything that I have mentioned here. That is it.
Right. Were these lawyers hired directly by you personally? Or were they brought in by other people or even by other legal counsel?
Of course. Some were hired directly by me, some were hired by others, and others were recommended by other lawyers. We would look into it, doctor, just to try to clarify the situation further so that you can have a much better understanding of our process. We would do something like a formal interview to see if the person truly sympathized with the cause and if the person showed any specific inclination or strong feelings towards the movement we are discussing. For matters that naturally, by getting involved there as a staff lawyer, they would have to handle, which were already the list cases. And based on that, we would decide whether to bring the person in or not. Many didn't work out, and for those who didn't, we would look for others, and that's how it went.
The lawyers, when they were hired, you said that some were hired through other colleagues who were recommended. Yes.
Of course. There was a group called Afinal, where all the most important decisions were made, and it consisted of 12 people. And within this group, everyone had the autonomy to seek out, to bring in, to recommend people.
Mr. Orlando, what he wants to know is whether the lawyers, if some lawyers were hired by other lawyers since they were part of the...
They could recommend, not hire them directly, but they could recommend. The final decision on the contract was made by the final approval group, by the group of lawyers.
And these lawyers, were they hired to handle the legal side? Or when they were hired, was it made clear, like, look, you'll have to commit a crime or do something wrong?
It wasn't stated exactly in those words that you mentioned, but this process naturally happened. Naturally, it happened. At a certain point during a particular meeting, there were some things related to the faction. Something had to be done. A message had to be delivered. A connection had to be made. And the person who made the call was the lawyer who was present at the meeting.
You may continue.
Especially with the leadership.
You said you did a pre-interview to see if they were a sympathizer and so on. What was that trying to achieve? If he already... The tendency
to
help?
The natural tendency to sympathize with the cause whenever any problem arose. whether they would stand up to defend or actively fight for the core interests of the faction.
But was it mentioned? Would other favors be asked, like delivering messages?
That is never mentioned.
In the initial interview,
No, Your Honor, never
is
is that mentioned. That naturally is a process.
it happens later on.
It's a process that happens because of the web, even the moral intelligence of the criminal life.
But the lawyer wasn't required to do anything illegal?
No one is required to do anything. He does it because he's getting paid. He does it because he's already involved. There comes a time when the person is so involved that there's no way for him to say no anymore.
There were lawyers who did the legal part as it should really be done as a lawyer. They worked as lawyers, being lawyers, just lawyers.
Before 2006, there were quite a few. We were greatly assisted and very heavily supported by our dedicated team of lawyers. In fact, sir, if Your Honor allows me the opportunity, I can certainly recount a specific incident here to much better clarify the complex matter of this situation.
Go ahead.
About the doctor. There was an issue involving a lawyer being murdered, Dr. Marlon. This death occurred in 2009. This lawyer was someone who would not accept a proposal, simply a message that he thought he had. Within that message, some hidden idea, some hidden order. They mentioned that it was because he was playing both sides with the police, that he was taking money, that he was having an affair with someone's wife. I don't know whose anyway. That was one of the reasons that led me to cut ties. The relationship with one of the reasons for cutting ties with the organization being one of them. Just so you understand, he was a retained lawyer who worked exclusively as a lawyer and would not accept otherwise. He refused to send messages or get involved in criminal activities. Even if the message was very simple, he thought there was something hidden behind it and so on. I'm just giving you an example.
Right. Doctor, anything else?
No, that's all. That was an example of a lawyer who did everything by the book, right?
Exactly, doctor. And
There were others like that as well, certainly.
usually when someone started to show resistance under a variety of specific circumstances, that particular person would be immediately dismissed from their position, or a formal written warning would be issued to ensure that they wouldn't be involved in any further situations of that nature.
Does anyone else have it? Question? Good.
Day.
Good morning, doctor.
I am the lawyer representing Paulo.
Doctor, please speak closer to the microphone. Next.
For the defense of Paulo Pedro da Silva and Paulo César Souza Nascimento Jr., how many years of your sentence do you have left to serve? To be fulfilled?
For complying.
How much was his sentence?
My sentence, today it stands at 67 years.
Since when have you been incarcerated?
Ever since the year 2000, this has been the case. For a very long time.
What crimes did you commit?
Criminal association, assault, robbery, false identity, illegal possession of a firearm.
Heinous crime. You don't have any?
I don't have any heinous crimes.
You said you left penitentiary 2 in 2009.
No, not from penitentiary 2. Officially, I left in 2010, but I left from the Avare penitentiary.
What was this release of yours from the Avare penitentiary?
Man, what happened? I was locked up before I got to the penitentiary. From Avare, no. CRP. I was serving a year there for reasons that brought me there.
Disciplinary reasons usually, right?
Of course,
Doctor, could you please speak up?
No, I just want to make a comment. That's what he said.
of course. And what happened? Well, 2 reasons made me very dissatisfied with everything that was happening inside the faction. One is personal, which was about a comment my daughter made to me. I was locked up, I received a visit, and I felt that the whole situation, you'll understand please, was taking away the innocence, the naivety of the child, all that influence from the life I was leading. The second was the message I received about the murder of Dr. Marlon, which I did not agree with. And I asked them to wait until I was transferred to the general population so I could better understand what was happening. Anyway, after that message, 4 months later, Dr. Marlon was murdered. That left me deeply shaken. And there is a third situation that I won't mention here. Alright, I went to Avare. When I arrived in Avare, I received a direct order from the leadership, which was for me to organize the entry gate. The entry gate refers to all the CDPs where I'm speaking for myself, used to recruit raw material. People who arrived at the CDP to strengthen the ranks of the faction. There were problems there. The people who were in that position didn't know how to manage things, and they needed some mature people for recruitment. Given everything that was happening to me, I had almost 9 people from my family as well. In prison too, and I didn't accept that. And I began to openly demonstrate a very clear sense of deep dissatisfaction. And because of that, those around me quickly began to take notice. I wrote a letter, doctor. And I gave it to a godson of mine to really investigate what had happened, the reason for Dr. Marlon's death. And that letter ended up in the hands of other leaders. This triggered a situation that I couldn't sustain. I knew I was going to die there because they warned me. I was in Bernardes, and the leadership who was with me came and told me, look, so-and-so is going to be sent to Miami. We're going to ask him to travel. In other words, he's going to be killed. I said, no, wait, okay, what's going on? Given this situation, I thought it best to leave for myself and not die because I knew that's what would have happened.
I understand, Orlando. You stated the reasons that led you to do it, and are those personal reasons?
Personal.
I really want to know what happened that night. How were you released from prison?
In Alvarez, I was removed for the following reason. Inside the penitentiary, each inmate is kept alone, that is.
A single individual cell found in Alvarez.
As soon as I arrived at the prison unit, they already gave me a cell phone so I could carry out the tasks for the faction. And during this process, I stayed in the penitentiary for about 3 or 4 months, if I'm not mistaken. And what happened? At a certain point, I had an argument with one of the inmates who was part of an important group that now operates on the outside. It was already related to what was happening, to my dissatisfaction. I went out to work out. I'm not doctor, a person who uses drugs. But at that time, I did use a little. Okay. No.
Doctor, excuse me. What is the relevance of the question?
It's just that I understand he's trying to provide context for the situation and explain the reasons that led me.
I
Respect that, but they are personal. I want to know specifically.
Why did he leave Avare?
Junior was removed from the penitentiary in Avare on the day he left there.
I'll get there.
Coming.
There. And within that context, in the courtyard, I used a tiny portion of cocaine. What happened? My brain doesn't work. It wasn't made for drugs. I end up using this in a certain way. It doesn't work. My brain doesn't work with drugs. Then I didn't use a lot of drugs. But under the pressure I was living through there, what did I do? Foreseeing that the situation would lead to my death, I made a call and asked to be removed from the penitentiary. The one who got me out of the penitentiary was the internal GIR of the facility.
How many hours later were you already giving a statement to the public prosecutor's office as part of a plea bargain?
Look, after I left, ma'am, right after I finally left the Avale Penitentiary, I was, I think, for about 10 days, or maybe even 11 days, completely incommunicado.
Wasn't on
The next day? No, ma'am. I was kept incommunicado. People from São Paulo came to see me, if I'm not mistaken, Dr. Gilberto, a prosecutor, and I don't remember, a German gentleman saying that they were interested in finding out how the information leaked to Wenceslao II about a raid they had carried out, and so on. And this matter was communicated to the inmates beforehand, and so on. After that, Dr. Lincoln also sought me out in 2010.
Sir, do you confirm that you left because of drug use on the night you left there?
Ma'am, I just mentioned that to you.
Just be objective.
It wasn't you.
You can do that later during the debates. Yes or no?
That wasn't the reason for using the interpreter.
I get it, but were you on drugs that day?
That day I used.
All right, fine.
But that was not the primary reason.
After 7 years, have you changed?
I believe that my ideas, my views today about organized crime, ma'am, I can't just erase everything I've
done, but you have changed.
Not only have I changed, but I also deeply regret having taken part in that.
You also admit to having been one of the top members of the criminal organization.
I joined the organization in 1998 during a riot at the Sorocaba Detention Center, Aparecidim, and I left in 2010. I spent about 12 years inside the organization, ma'am.
Since
The moment I changed, I hope that from now on, my choices, my convictions will be different. I'm fighting for that.
do you already have enough time served for benefits?
Probably due to disciplinary infractions, I still need about another year to be able to qualify. When
When your testimony led to several criminal proceedings, did you receive any benefit from the state for providing this kind of testimony?
Ma'am, the fact is I didn't get any benefit, that's why I'm still trying to resolve the issues with disciplinary infractions so I can qualify. Ma'am, just one question. What is the lady's name?
Finally, one last question since it was mentioned. What is your nickname?
I no longer use that nickname.
You used it in 06. How do you report to defendants?
Kalakalu. He was one of them, Macaron. There was another one too, if you'd like to know.
Does anyone else have a question?
Good morning, doctor.
These are very specific questions. You mentioned
Closer to the microphone, please.
I will speak because I unfortunately need to consult my notes here. Good morning. You mentioned you were asked the names of a number of people. You mentioned some that you knew and several others that you do not know. The indictment expressly states that the case concerns events that occurred from 2014 until the present date, which is the date of the indictment at the end of 2016. You were no longer part of...
I was not part of it, doctor, but at that time...
So these names, these various names that you do not know, which are mentioned in the indictment, you cannot clarify, you would not know whether they became part of the faction or not.
In this case, ma'am, are you asking about...
Prisoners, right? No.
About the-
Names of the defendants.
He already stated that he doesn't even know them, so he doesn't know.
I wonder if he knows. Nobody said there are things he's heard.
The-
Sir, can you say whether these names you said you didn't know, are they people who actually took part in the action or not?
And in this case, ma'am, could you repeat the names?
Please, I can mention several. You mentioned several people you don't know. You said you don't know Marcela Fortuna. You said...
That you don't know. Lawyer. Are you referring to them as if they were members of the faction?
I am asking...
If you know whether they
were members of the faction, these lawyers you don't know.
Doctor, I'll only mention one person I know who was a member of the faction as a lawyer because I was the one who initiated him. It was Dr. Sergio Ellis. This person wasn't just a lawyer, he was a member of the faction because I myself initiated him.
Okay, so you're saying that the lawyers, except for that one, weren't members of the faction?
No, you're saying you don't know, doctor. He already...
Forgave that. He said lawyer, member of the faction. I know one, Sergio, isn't that right? Yes.
Because as you are reporting to me, I am understanding it as you...
Stop putting it.
As a member. What is the question, doctor?
You also can't say whether these other names were subjected to any kind of vetting. These names of people you don't know.
It was a common practice regarding this matter. The Sintonia dos Gravatas since the beginning, starting in 2006. It was customary for us to try to see what the tendency was there.
At what point did this vetting take place? Was it right at the
beginning? It was right at the beginning.
And did the vetting take place inside the prison?
Or by phone as well, because that matter was very simple and...
Either it was by cell phone or the lawyer would go to the prison and be vetted.
Exactly.
Okay. You said that some lawyers who tried to get hired didn't work out and ended up being dismissed. Did that actually happen?
I think that probably still happens today because not everyone can handle the pressure. It's an incredibly precarious tightrope walk. From the very moment that a lawyer enters the scene and begins receiving money derived from crime, it really becomes a dangerous tightrope. It is important to understand that not everyone, for those who choose to accept it, sooner or later, this fragile and unstable house of cards can suddenly collapse. So in reality, not everyone is willing to accept it.
And you also said that from the beginning there wasn't any explicit need to commit illegal acts, that this would come up.
Criminal actions? No, there weren't.
So at a certain point there might have been a suggestion to, if someone is asked to do something and refuses, they are dismissed in that case. Anyone who refuses to do a certain thing is dismissed.
There are other cases, I won't mention them here, but one I brought up a little while ago was the murder of Dr. Marlon.
You previously mentioned an individual who steadfastly refused to participate in a particular behavior and was then murdered for it.
Conduct, that's right,
Why?
doctor. Because he was requesting people who were in Venceslau II, people who were in Abare, and people who were at the CRP in Presidente Bernardes. In other words, the entire leadership of the faction.
This person, this lawyer you mentioned who was murdered, do you know how long he provided services to the faction? No.
It wasn't for very long, no. He started in 2009, about 2 years.
2 years.
If I remember correctly, about 2 years.
After 2 years, he refused a certain...
No, not after. From the beginning, he wasn't someone...
No, I understand, but after 2 years, he was murdered.
Why, doctor? He was supposed to transport money. I didn't want to mention this. Here, Your Honor. Sir.
You don't have to answer if you don't want to.
He was supposed to be... He had to carry a very large amount of money. He was supposed to be the courier. At that moment, he was someone who wouldn't raise any suspicion or anything, and he refused. And from that point on, a lot of situations were fabricated. Oh, he's doing this, he's doing that, and so on. But in reality...
All right, you've already answered, Doctor.
I understand.
Anything else? Yes.
Just that day, Your Honor. I wanted to know in these interviews, what kind of profile were you looking for in a lawyer? Were you looking for lawyers with, since my colleagues seem uncomfortable, were you looking for lawyers with experience? How was it? Who were already working in the field or not? What kind of profile were you looking for?
Well then, doctor, usually we looked for people who had just recently graduated, even because of the very issue we were facing. Of the
money.
We intentionally made the decision to avoid hiring well-known lawyers with big reputations, primarily because they tend to be much more difficult to work with. These are individuals who already have an incredibly successful and established legal practice with many clients and so on, which makes them less flexible for our needs. But as I said, all of this depended on the interview, on how things would go, how the appointments would be, the relationships. But I want to make it clear to you, doctor, to conclude, that the main interest in these hirings was always the fight and the defense of the interests of organized crime.
And did these lawyers go to the prisons to make visits?
Constantly they go back and forth. They're the legitimate ones. And through this device, that's where a lot
of other things. This is one of the main functions, to go to the prisons to talk to the inmates.
The so-called, to properly name this function, is called jungle courier, where the penitentiary doesn't have a cell phone, is having trouble with visits, and the ones who act are the lawyers.
So this is one of the main functions of these hired lawyers?
For sure.
Excellent. You said that you were caught right at the beginning. You were caught on a wiretap transmitting an order. Where did this environmental monitoring take place? Was it inside the prison?
It was inside President Wenceslau II. In fact, some lawyers were arrested. I don't know if I'll remember the name. Dr. Libania, Dr. Libania, Dr. Valeria, and Dr. Eduardo Diamante. They were all taken into custody. Starting from this specific question, which it was all crazy, you know? And what about us on top of all this? Then he talked. He said, man, something has to be done. Things can't stay the way they are here, and we're going to give an answer. And within that, he was asked to be assassinated. Prison officers, it was requested to be done. Series of riots. And the ones receiving the orders were these lawyers. They were arrested. And I was sent to the CRP because of this issue as well.
What year was this exactly? In the year 2006?
Doctor, the year was 2006.
All right, thank you. Excellent.
Anyone else?
Good afternoon, Doctor. My name is Marco Antonio. I represent several people. Doctor,
Microphone, please.
3 lawyers, including Marco Williams.
All right, okay. I'm
sorry for the desperation. And know that the questions you will see, Doctor, are all mine.
Doctor.
Can I
speak a little louder, please? I can.
I usually speak softly. The first question, Mr. Orlando, do you consider Marco Williams your enemy? Is it yes or no? I know these are sad facts. Everything is in the newspaper, but unfortunately, we have to ask here to include it in the process.
If I answer you no, it will be very superficial. Do you know why, doctor? Because he was one of the people who did not agree with the murder of my wife.
Mr. Orlando, if you don't want to answer, it's a personal question. You can feel free.
Just yes or no. Just yes or no. Because I know this is very painful. It's painful for us lawyers who have been practicing for a long time. And we know that some things happen and that it happened in your family.
Doctor, the questions were yes.
He is your enemy. Simone Alonso.
I don't know him, I don't remember him.
Perfect. Juliana.
What's the name?
Juliana Alonso.
I don't know him, I don't remember him.
Antonio David Lara.
I know him personally. Yes, it's yours.
Is he your enemy or is he not your enemy? Do you consider him so?
Everyone who is a sympathizer or member of the faction is my enemy. He is my enemy.
Okay. You mentioned and brought up a point earlier that I didn't know about. What exactly was that issue you were talking about? About the 12 who made the decisions, right?
All right.
So I will refer to that, just to Marcos, okay? Now, regarding the specific creation of this lawyer's cell at that time, were you actually located in the very same block as him? I mean, both him and Marco together?
We had an order from the department not to put the two of us together. No, in 2006.
No. When the group of 12 was created,
That
Council of 12, let's put it that way.
in 2006 we were together in Pavilion 1 of Presidente Benceslao II. Right after the attack started, they took us out, took us to Bernardes and so on. What happened? When the formal interviews finally began, and they started to call the legal team to actually set everything up, it turned out that he wasn't present at the meeting. And he also wasn't part of the 12, which was the final leadership from that time.
It was created at that time. Can you say whether he participated or can you say that he did not participate? Of those 12 who decided on the formation of this cell,
Of course, he wasn't part of the 12, especially because that matter was ours, but the order and the whole plan were sent to him, so that he could also be aware and give his approval for it to move forward.
you brought up two things that I didn't want to revisit, especially since Marlon was also my friend.
Who?
Marlon,
Was he your friend?
but I have to bring it up. You give me two facts. Marlon, you didn't agree. And they killed him.
No, you're talking directly about the murder.
About the murder. Did the 12 decide there?
No, in this case, it wasn't the 12. That issue was motivated by 3 people. Doctor,
What is the relevance of Marlon's murder? All of it.
All of it, Your Honor.
But why?
It is highly relevant. I would like him to confirm it.
yes, doctor, I did not agree.
Regarding leaving it was something.
Very much within the process, which is the turning point. You also don't agree with the murder of your wife. Is that what you said?
He also wasn't involved in this Marlon matter, no. It was 3 people.
So this is very relevant, SMS. Not all decisions go through him. Or if they do go through him and he says no, it happens the same way anyway, because this is a faction.
Yeah, but I'll explain to you how this process actually works. Doctor, there was a problem with me.
No, I think that
Now you have a much more comprehensive understanding.
because for me it's clear. There are the 12, now there is a council. I am not even...
Listening. Doctor, I'm not hearing the questions just to make sure they're not being asked in a leading way. But what exactly is the specific question? The
Specific question?
question is whether there are orders that don't go through Marcos, or if he refuses to follow any order.
He can't, not in his testimony, besides the truth, to say which orders go through Marcos or not. We have 2 examples. The example, your personal one, and the example of Dr. Marco.
Of course.
So there were 2 things that if there was anything against it, if he was against it, the decision would be the same.
Yeah, it's just that. So,
He is not supreme.
Doctor, let him answer, please.
for you to understand very clearly, I'll try to summarize as quickly as possible. For example, doctor, 3 people are involved in this issue with Dr. Marlon. These 3 are part of the 12. Why did they send someone to notify me inside the CRP where I was incommunicado? Look, Dr. Marlon is going to travel to Miami.
He was your lawyer at the time.
Exactly, that was the reason. They sent someone to notify me because he was my lawyer and he was handling matters for my family. Up to that point, everything was fine. But doctor, they had raised the issue that Dr. Marlon was dealing with money from the faction and so on. This matter doesn't need to be sent to Marcos for a decision. Nothing. They themselves, as the final authority and with full autonomy to decide, in fact made the decision. And regarding the matter of my wife, he was indeed informed. Both he and Abel did not agree with this matter. I am aware of that as well, just as I know who agreed, who did it, and so on.
Okay, I won't interrupt.
Anything else, Doctor?
As you are well aware of the situation, my dear doctor, you certainly had plenty of time until the year 2010. Okay? Is that not correct?
Officially, it was in 2010 that I left.
We are dealing here, Mr. Orlando, only and exclusively with this faction from 2013 onwards.
Yeah, I was not
2014, very well. I was no longer
Part of it.
If it were the same, those involved would have still joined the faction. Let's just talk.
all right, doctor. Of course.
Let's just do that. All right, go ahead, Doctor.
Like,
Matches my request regarding Pisanilha and in relation to Antonio David de Lara, and it has already been denied because it refers to two. In fact, your statement was along those lines, Doctor, saying that it ended in 2013 and another one started.
No, Doctor, you may ask. All right, Doctor. The issue is legal, just ask about the facts and that's it. So,
From the year 2014 onwards, you mentioned that you have a significant amount of detailed information regarding the faction.
Yes, I do, sir.
Is this information from reliable sources? Or is it from colleagues in the prison environment where you live?
All right, let's see if you will understand. Doctor, I received letters from people inside who did not agree with what happened to my wife. People who are members today are... Let me make it very clear, I am not going to say anything regarding these situations because these are people who currently hold positions inside and they warn me about those who are after me. Doctor, just so you are aware. My head today inside the penitentiary system is worth 3 million reais. They warn me
Who exactly are they?
They...
Doctor, he doesn't want to specify. Besides the... That's right. Everything he has said so far. Doctor, how is...
My question was direct. Are these people from prison?
People who are members of the faction, who hold positions inside there today.
Faction. Does this come to you by letter?
Actually, it doesn't come in my name. It comes in the name of other people because there is a censorship on my name, so it doesn't get through.
And for every single inmate, how does that letter actually get through?
It gets through.
Of course it's relevant.
It successfully resonates when people put their thoughts into writing. There are several ways to disguise an important issue, and through this kind of disguise, these messages get through. And that's how I become aware of it, Doctor.
Doctor, regarding whether it's current or not, all his answers referred to the time when he was part of it. He didn't mention anything about the present situation.
He is talking about the present situation.
Yes, I'm talking about the people, but you may proceed.
To be considered a member, you have to be baptized, Doctor. What are you talking about? That I baptized. What do you mean I baptized someone?
Baptized? What do you mean?
What are you?
What, I baptized?
What are you talking about that I baptized someone? What are you talking about? Are you really saying that I baptized someone? What do you mean by that? What are you talking about? That I baptized? What are you? You have to be baptized, and the others are sympathizers. Is that it?
A sympathizer is someone who supports a cause, who shows some sympathy for the cause. Like, for example, just to answer you more quickly, Dr. Rogerio Azevedo, who even wanted to ask to be mobilized for voting matters so he could get into politics and all that. Dr. Sergio? Dr. Sergio, regarding the matter, he was baptized because he was a person with a bad tendency. He even brought me a gun inside the prison system. He was a lawyer, but a member of the faction that already...
He has taken.
The firearm was found inside a prison during a lawyer's visit. Now you ask, how did this issue come about? It got in. A gun got in, ammunition got in, and it was delivered in a meeting room during a visit. with lawyers,
This is old, right?
2005.
The year 2005.
Not that old. There were metal detectors, there were searches.
Today, do the meeting rooms have glass?
Today,
Today,
most of them have glass, Doctor. Today, most of them have glass.
let's go back to Rogerio Zivetto. I'm not his lawyer, but he was there, so was he working for the faction now? We're talking about today.
2017?
About the current facts, sir. Orlando, currently, these names that you know, do you know if they are still part of the group or do you not have...
That. Then I would be speculating.
He doesn't know, Doctor.
I can't say that, Doctor.
Because he doesn't do that. He hasn't.
Years.
He was hired then.
Doctor, whether he does it or not is a matter of merit. He answers about facts. He already said he doesn't have that knowledge.
I am afraid I can't say that, Doctor. I'm truly sorry.
The truth is, there's no problem with you saying it.
Any more questions, sir?
Yes, I know there are. You did a good job, sir. You were imprisoned in 2006, 2009, and 2010. I also went through here. The lawyers who got involved and entangled themselves with their clients' interests, most of them were arrested, weren't they?
I don't believe it was the majority, but a good number were arrested. Yes, sir.
You mentioned Lebanon, you mentioned
Dr. Valeria, the...
Dr. Diamond, the renowned.
Doctor, if I'm not mistaken, it's Alessandra or Dr. Patricia.
This wasn't a wiretap of
Paula? Dr. Odette?
Odette. Wasn't that a bug in the parlor?
Lost.
What was it? Sorry.
Was it a parlor wiretap that got them arrested?
No, all those there.
But some were. Libania was a parlor wiretap.
Are these lawyers part of the case? Are these names part of the indictment? No.
No. Unfortunately, those specific details are not included. But the persistent insinuation and suggestion that lawyers regularly receive their legal orders in the parlor does indeed continue to exist within the context of the case. I know that, I'm aware. I'm questioning something.
Here. What's the question? What?
So the questions from the silence. They were acquitted. Pedro? It seems they were acquitted. Fiora? Exactly. Yeah, David Lara helped a lot with the framework for the formation.
He was there from the beginning.
From the beginning. Let's make a separation. David's lawful activity and David's unlawful activity. When he goes to make arrangements with you, okay? That word isn't meant to put you down. But when he makes arrangements, he helps with the formation. He's helping with the lawful formation of a team of lawyers. Is that it? He planned to form this team of lawyers to deliver messages. And then I'll ask, what did he say to instruct them regarding engaging in unlawful activity in the practice of law?
So, the issue here is very simple. The process is actually quite natural, because from the moment you realize that the lawyer, that appointed professional, has a tendency, I'll specify for you now, so that I can, to actually make a pact in the criminal situation. There were PCC members who were arrested in another state. These PCC members needed attention because they were going through serious problems in that other state. He was one who, when this was mentioned to him, he said the following. He said, guys, see what you need to be said, to talk about, that I'll go there. And this was at the Chaquiada Penitentiary, to be more specific, sir. And he brought the following.
Chaquiada is Marco Williams, my dear good sir. Is that correct?
Yes, Chaquiada, yes, another one like that.
Well, let's go.
He came to us and presented the following proposal, which was based on how he personally perceived the complex dynamics of criminal activity in that specific place, which the members of the PCC were actively proposing at the time, a criminal alliance between them, even to support the PCC members who were there, and possibly do what you see today, which grew, expanded, and this alliance was made at that time.
Doctor, I'm sorry, but I need to ask you to please pause because of the recording.